It was supposed to be nothing more than a cruel joke. The kind of game arrogant young men play when they believe the world exists only for their entertainment. In a crowded country club bar, laughter spilled from a corner table where a group of wealthy men sat, their designer suits barely containing the smugness that came with inherited money. Among them was Daniel Crawford, 32 years old, a millionaire many times over, with a smile so practiced it was as much a weapon as it was a charm. That night, in the haze of expensive whiskey and shallow bravado, someone tossed out a challenge that made the table roar. "I dare you to marry her. 6 months, keep a straight face. Prove you can stomach it, bet you can't." She was a woman Daniel had never met. A quiet, plus-sized waitress named Lila, who worked in the back kitchen of the club's less glamorous dining hall. She was the type of person these men rarely noticed, except to mock poor, fat, and visible in their eyes. But Daniel, caught in the drunken arrogance of the moment, smirked and said, "You're on." And just like that, a wager was set. One that would change everything in ways no one in that room could have imagined. Before we go further, if you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in stories where people are so much more than they appear, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kinnis Corner. Your support helps us bring more real emotional stories to life. Daniel didn't know much about Lila when he first approached her. She lived in a tiny studio apartment above a laundromat in a rough part of town. Her clothes were simple, her shoes worn, but her eyes carried something rare, an unshaken light, the kind that comes from surviving storms. She didn't believe him at first when he asked her out. Men like him didn't see women like her, but Daniel was charming when he wanted to be persistent, and eventually she agreed to meet for coffee. In those first few weeks, Daniel wore his role like a costume. He listened just enough, smiled at the right times, and played the attentive suitor. To his friends, he reported every detail with a smirk. The cruel bet still his secret prize. But in the quiet moments when Lila spoke, something unexpected began to happen. She told stories about caring for her younger siblings after her mother died, about working 2 jobs through high school to keep the lights on, about volunteering at the shelter on weekends because she believed no one should feel forgotten. There was no bitterness in her voice, only resilience. Daniel brushed off the strange pull he felt, telling himself it was just fascination, a novelty he'd soon grow bored of. But then came the night it all began to change. It was a rainy Thursday when Daniel offered to drive Lila home after her shift. Her apartment building had lost power, and in the dim hallway light, he noticed a hand-drawn calendar taped to the wall full of notes for neighbors, reminders for food pantry pickups, and birthday wishes scrolled in colorful marker. It wasn't for her. It was for everyone in the building. Lila had made it herself so the elderly residents wouldn't forget important days. No one had asked her to. No one paid her. She just cared. That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the way she had smiled at Mrs. Grant, the nearly blind woman in apartment 3B, the way she had quietly handed her a warm meal before turning to help a young mother carry her groceries upstairs. None of it had been for show. She didn't know he was watching. Over the weeks that followed, cracks began to form in Daniel's armor. He stopped meeting his friends after dates with Lila. He stopped reporting back at all. He started listening, really listening when she spoke. And he began to notice how different he felt when he was with her. She didn't want his money, his status, or his approval. She saw through the tailored suits and the sleek sports car. She looked at him like he was just Daniel. But the bet still loomed over him like a storm cloud. He hadn't told her, and the guilt was a slow poison. Every laugh they shared, every small kindness she showed him twisted in his chest because he knew it was all built on a lie. The breaking point came on the day he proposed. He had planned it as the grand final of the bet. A lavish dinner, a diamond ring, the perfect photo to send to his friends as proof he had won. But when he saw Lila walk into the candlelit room wearing a simple blue dress and a shy smile, something inside him shattered. This wasn't a game anymore. He loved her and it terrified him. They married in a small church, surrounded by the few family members and neighbors who adored Lila. Daniel's friends were there too, smirking in the back pew, waiting for the joke to be complete. But Daniel couldn't hear their laughter. All he could hear was Lila's voice as she vowed to stand by him in sickness and in health, for richer or for poorer. She meant every word. The truth came out 2 months later. One of his so-called friends, drunk at a charity gala, let it slip to a reporter that Daniel's marriage had started as a bet. The story exploded. Headlines painted him as a heartless millionaire who humiliated his own wife. Paparazzi camped outside their home. Strangers hurled insults online, and Lila didn't scream. She didn't throw things or demand answers. She packed a single bag and left without a word. Daniel found her at the community shelter, scrubbing floors like she had before they met. Her eyes, once warm and open to him, were guarded now. He begged her to listen, to understand that the bet had ended long before he asked her to marry him, that he loved her truly. But Lila only said, "Love built on lies isn't love at all." For weeks, Daniel tried everything. He donated to the shelter. He spent his days volunteering. He even moved out of their penthouse and into her old neighborhood, helping her friends with repairs and errands. But it wasn't until he quietly paid for the surgery that saved Mrs. Grant's eyesight without telling a soul that Lila began to believe him again. It wasn't a grand gesture or a public apology that won her back. It was the quiet, consistent kindness that mirrored her own. Slowly, she let him back into her life and, over time, into her heart. Years later, when they renewed their vows in that same little church, Daniel looked at her with tears in his eyes and whispered, "The bet was the worst decision of my life, but loving you was the best." And in that moment, everyone in the room knew they had beaten the odds. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to Kinnestrend. Your engagement helps us keep telling powerful, emotional stories that remind the world of the power of compassion and redemption. Before we end, we have one special request. Leave a comment below sharing what you think is the truest sign of real love.